1 second here. Here we go. Good morning. And here we go.
Ready, set, go. Coming to you live, it's the Auto Hub Show with Ian and Jeff. Here we go.
Who said you can't teach an old dog new tricks? Hi, I'm Gail Rubenstein, the founder and CEO of a company called Retail Resilient Social Selling for the Car Industry. And we help auto dealers, auto agencies, and vendors in the auto industry sell more cars, service more cars, and make more money using our social selling strategy. That includes TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and anything else you can think of. So if you're looking to invest thousands and make millions, we're definitely the social selling company for you. Like I said, who said you can't teach an old dog new tricks?
I was at Larry Coleman's seminar. So happy I came, having such a good time. Thank you so much, Larry.
One of the best trainers in this area for sure. I don't know about anywhere else, but as far as I know, he's the best. So, told you twice, take advantage. Thank you for having me here.
I'm at Larry Feldman's seminar, and what I've found is that what he's really good at doing with his knowledge and with his training, he's not filling a bucket, he's lighting a fire.
Ways to improve. Every month we want to improve better on what we did the month before, maybe the year before. It's about how fast we can get the cars done with quality work to get it to the front line, because that's where we make our money. And the bottom line is the longer it takes, the more money we spend. We want to get it down as low as possible. Right now, like I said, we're in a great stage. We're at 4.5 days. In recon, we want to know how quickly we can get the cars out of the recon process and to the front line. The average days in recon and then the time to line are the most important things that we look for. I'm Mike Burrell, and Service Director of JM Lexus.
And good morning. So I was looking for some books on service. We've had Max on before, so he was clearly one of the suspects for that. If you're not familiar with Chris Collins, he's written a number of books, including The Millionaire Service Advisor. And the other one that was kind of interesting, I couldn't get a book title because it's audio only, is How to Start, Run, and Grow a Used Car Department on a Budget, which we all know is important these days. Jeff could speak to that, being that he owns a used car dealership. So let's go through a disclaimer. By the way, it's behind us just in case there was a question, but go ahead, Jeff.
I'm going to do my best weather person. So the views and opinions here are those of our guests, not necessarily that, or Ian Nethercott and Jeff Polo, or the Auto Hub Show. And of course, we call this the Larry disclaimer. But go to our website and please take a look and see. I tried last week to do it walking, but it just didn't work. But ta-da!
There you go. So there's two events coming up. We're going to be at NIADA in Las Vegas. So if anyone's going to be there, we're going to be there at scale, doing podcasts and our patented ambush interviews. But if you're in Toronto, for example, you can definitely attend Canada Used Car Week, put on by Cherokee Media Group. It's about the same time, so we had to make a choice. So we made the Vegas choice, just so you know. So those are the two events coming up. And if you're a diabetic, I'm going to be at the Pump Couture Show on the 9th of June, helping people with diabetes talk about wearables for young people. So if you're diabetic or have someone in your family, it's a great show. They do them all over Canada. We're talking about drive more service and parts revenue today. Unfortunately, some of our guests were too busy selling parts and service. So we have a number of our regulars on. So we'll open it up to the room to talk a little bit about parts and service. And we also have a couple of our sponsors on. We have Joel from VidCalls below. And then, of course, we have Larry, as mentioned in our disclaimer, on the show live as well. So let's get into it. Mr. Jeff.
Yeah, well, good morning, everybody. I think what happened is I sent out the call flow, and these other people read the call flow. Like, oh my gosh, it's a problem. I better go get it handled. So actually, no, our best is Stephen Granger got a little bit sick, and hopefully he's better. And Steve's always a good guy there for us whenever we reach out to him. And of course, he loves to talk about fixed ops because recall rabbit's a big thing. And it's very funny how we take a look at the fact, and Peter, I believe you posted something this week just about service departments and how they're, I can't remember, was it the 6 on Monday, the 4 on, no, just kidding. Just about the fact how fixed ops and everything is kind of not viewed a little differently and always doesn't get all the glory. And I was going to put a question in there, which I didn't, which is it because your GMs and dealer principals came from variable ops, or who knows? But I didn't do that. But so I'm going to forego the introductions because I had everybody here. It is a free for all. Can't speak again today. Welcoming Tim, good to see you again. Joel, thanks for always being there, full hat. And Joe Boris, who's on there, who I actually discovered the other day. I was trying to send out something. All of you should have received an invitation from us, by the way, for our giant 3rd anniversary video virtual party we're going to have coming up. And we can't believe it's 3 years. And actually, Ian, what you see, we have 380 episodes or something. If we
it was actually kind of interesting. So I was looking at the amount of episodes. It's over 300. I think it's 305 officially. Now with audio, we got into audio later, so there's not as many. But the amount of hours of footage, if you average that over a roughly an hour show, is a lot. So it was a little bit mind-boggling to me just how much footage. But more importantly, as we come into our 3rd anniversary show, I'm going to hopefully put together a shortened reel for each year, best moments. And we are going to be selling and giving away, obviously, at the show, Auto Hub Show 3rd anniversary gear. We're just coming up with a new design, which we're working on. That's the prototype. And we're also going to be coming up with a hat design for people that are coming to NIADA. So obviously stop by for that. And these are not yet printed, so it's a mock-up, but we will have them done for the Vegas show. So we will be there live with these shirts in multiple sizes.
In the words of one of our great inspirations, you get a shirt, you get a shirt.
But they'll also be for sale on the site as well for people who can't make the show live in Vegas. And hats will most likely be black, just because we've done black and white in the past, and the whites are not a starter. Even women prefer the black for some reason, which is weird. But anyway, we tried the white thing. Nobody likes it, so they'll be black. And they will be different than the hat I'm wearing right now. It'll be a new design and celebrating our 3rd anniversary. And of course, there'll be some statistics on the shirt based on just the metrics that I have so far. So what was kind of interesting was just the amount of content, but more importantly, if you look at audio, and we got into audio, I think about a year into the show, the amount of downloads just keeps growing. And that's because audio is more listened to than video. People listen to more audio, including audiobooks are now something like 50% of book sales globally, which is kind of interesting. But go ahead, Mr. Jeff, or you want me to ask the first question?
Oh, no, I want you, please. So fixed ops is supposed to be a huge absorption of dealer costs. Like, NADA says, 110% or something like that? Why is it that it's the poor cousin? Why does variable get all the glory? And why does service take the fixed op glory and parts is just the kid in all of them? Please, so can I have more So Peter, you're the first to log in. Let me ask your opinion there.
Thanks, Jeff. Basically, where I look at things, and I agree 100%, for some reason, it tailors back to fix as being the ugly duckling and not the swan that they are. The reason, my opinion is that it's the chicken and egg theory. You can't sell parts and you can't sell service until the car rolls off the ground. Well, unfortunately, it's the fix that gets the retention. It's not the sales, because sales never retains the customer. They drop the ball. It's so often because the turnover in sales is so huge. The orphan customer rate is massive, and they drop the ball consistently, because what we do, we give the customer list to someone who has never sold cars to. That you're going to. I'm gonna give you 500 people to call. After the 25th customer, the guy gives up, and so it just perpetuates that those people don't get called. So you're relying on your service business to retain sales. Now, I wrote a brief article about the ugly duckling and being parts. And a colleague of mine, Nathan Mirza, had a great comment. They're the punter of the football team. And they turn around and as the punter, no one, you gotta have one, but they're not your first pick in your draft. However, the punter is usually the longest standing member of a team because he's only doing so much at so little time, but they're also the highest point scoring person on a team.
The place kicker. The place kicker.
Yeah, it's the place kicker. Yeah. So it's unreasonable to think that they're out there and they're just getting avoided. Well, one of the things that we have to do is understand that 70% of all our traffic to our website is service business, yet we push variable on it. So we got to change our menus on our websites. We got to start focusing on fixed ops more than we are now, in my opinion. And we also have to bring down that barrier, as Ian and I discussed, and it's never coming down. They say it will, but it won't. That wall between fixed and variable, and every place I've worked, I've eliminated it.
Yeah, it's the silo effect. So, well, I wouldn't want to talk to the parts department. I wouldn't want to sell accessories on the vehicle I just sold. Actually, I remember working with a dealership in Edmonton, and they had a new process. Sell a lot of pickup trucks. It's kind of like Texas. So they had a kiosk dressed up like a tiki hut, and they had a guy who was selling accessories after the car was sold, wearing a Hawaiian shirt in Edmonton. If you know, Edmonton's pretty freaking cold. But anyway, he was averaging $6,000 to $9,000 in accessories per pickup truck sold, using technology like binders with photos of upgrades. He was actually making on average more than the F&I department per car average. And they took it right out of the hands of the salesman and say, listen, sell the car, then we'll do the accessories, then we'll do F&I. So it was 100% good. But the other one that was really interesting when I worked for Nissan is I had a dealer who said, listen, I want to, the TV that I have in my service drive, I want to put a video up of the parts that someone could buy, like a commercial as opposed to the news. And he talked to Nissan, they didn't have a video, so he had to source the video himself. But what he found when he had this video playing all the time with parts specials, he sold 20% more parts just because people were sitting there drinking coffee anyway. So they sold parts that way. But go ahead. Yeah.
Building on Peter's answer, a couple points. First, the reason that parts and fixed ops in general gets a second position is because so many dealers aren't paying attention and don't understand how important it is. You kind of screwed up that analogy a little bit, Peter, between the punter and the place kicker, but it's because you're Canadian, and if it doesn't have a stick, you're not. But I'm going to show you how old I really am. I remember a team called the Oakland Raiders, who at one point were one of the premier teams in football, and they had a punter who they did draft first, named Ray Guy.
Oh, yeah.
And he won plenty of games because he would pin the people so deep, it would give their defense a chance to push the quarterback. Here's the bottom line on service. Okay, we're idiotic. First of all, so many dealers never considered service advisors salespeople, which is ridiculous. They're selling things that'll keep you. To most dealers, tires are a pain in the ass. I don't want to bother with them. I don't make any money. You lose the tire business, you lose everything. And without retention, everything else goes by the wayside. So until they understand that you've got to tie sales and service together, I know this is going to be hard for you to believe that my meetings were a little crazy, but I had the world's craziest sales service meetings. I told some jokes, I busted everybody's chops, bought pizzas, and when people were loose, they said, listen, enough with the nonsense. We're all in this together. Because unfortunately, service people see salesmen as guys in ties who are all millionaires, who are lazy. And salespeople look at service as a bunch of guys with rags in their back pocket who never get the car ready. both answers are wrong. The idea is to make them understand how indispensable they are to each other and focus on the things you want to get. You want to sell people. You want to make sure if your salesman doesn't do a service walk, he needs to get punched in the head. That's got to be integral. Here's the service people. They've got to. These are all the things they'll do for you. Look how nice they are. We got to get them into service. Service has to make it a world-class experience. We got to try to sell them everything we can. If it's a loss leader, it's fine. We don't want them going anywhere for oil changes. We don't want them going anywhere for tires. And that's it. And if it makes you feel any better, Peter, I can mess up hockey analogies later. I don't want you to feel bad.
Larry, I just want to interject 1 second there. You were absolutely 100% right, and I agree with you on 99.
Oh, hold on. They might have a problem with the tape. Would you repeat that again?
100%. Now, every single person that is in that dealership is a revenue-generating employee. I don't care if it's the reception, the sales advisor, the F&I, the salesman. Every single person is a revenue-generating employee. Even an accountant upstairs is a revenue-generating employee because they're there to find out where the money is going and how to receive it better. Now,
wait a minute, Peter. You're 100% right. But what you're saying is, in most cases, is theoretical. Because while I agree with you and Tim Hayden agrees with you, you'd be amazed how many times, like Ian said, there's these silos, and it's just crazy how negative things are.
Oh, absolutely. Now, in going through that process, we have to turn the whole experience level to a different aspect to blend in. Salespeople are worried that service people are going to drop their customers. Service people are exactly on the opposite end, and where they say, you know what, these salespeople are lazy asses that all they do is sit at their desk, drink coffee, look online, play on Facebook, and wait for that customer to come in and make $3,000. That's what they look at. And that's so far from the truth. Now, one of the technologies, and I talk about technologies and how technologies have made us lazy, but technologies can make us great. Tim's got great technology to blend our data to make sure that we're vetted and we're transitional and targeted on our people. Brian has an amazing product that I just learned about and went through the process with them and talked with this company. It's a phenomenal product. It allows us to be fully transparent, and that's what's leading to customer experience. Every person on this call is leading in customer experience, and that we have to move away from the transactional sale to the relationship sale to get long-term customer value. And where does that start? In the service department. Because that's the majority of footsteps, that's the majority of income coming into the dealership on a regular basis. That's what's keeping the lights on. The sales is the additional gravy that is going to pay for the bonuses.
Hey, Peter, this is a true story. I'm not making this up, and I'll be quick. I had a radio show when I had my Cadillac dealership. And the last interview, don't ask me how we maneuvered it. I didn't have anything to do with it. I interviewed Ralph Nader. And I happen to respect Ralph Nader because I respect anybody that everybody hates. Because when he came out, unsafe in any state.
Do you respect Anthony Fauci?
No, not human vermin that unleash a disease on the planet. Okay, no. I'm talking about human beings. Nader's a human being. Okay, Fauci is vermin. There's no discussion with that. Look it up after you're done with the broadcast. So long story short, when he came out against us, he wrote a book called Unsaved at Any Speed about the Corvair. Every conservative said he should be shot because back then the biggest corporation in America was General Motors, and people were outraged that he would pick on General Motors. Fast forward, he runs against Bush and Gore, and he siphoned off a lot of Gore's votes, and now every liberal hated him. So I respect a guy that can make everybody crazy. So for some reason, he took a liking to me and he actually complimented me on my brains, which blew me away because Nader is off the charts smart. He says, Feldman, I like it. Okay. He says, can I tell you what's wrong with America? And I thought, shit, I'm going to grab my notepad. You don't often get to talk to a Ralph Nader. He says, Larry, are you a sports fan? Now, back then I was, people weren't kneeling for the national anthem. I was a sports nut. He says, so I'm betting you can name your infield and your start. I says, yeah. He says, most people can, but they can't name their congressman or their senator or alderman. They can name the people running around to entertain them, but not the people that make the rules and the laws and set up their kids' schools. Now, the reason for this long-winded analogy, I apologize, is I'm pretty sure if you went into most sales departments and asked them the names of the service advisors or vice versa, you'd get a blank stare. You can't be ultimately successful unless everybody's connected. Everybody.
Right.
And once you are, it's incredible what can happen. Because when you have friends, last thing and I'll shut up, which is hard for me to do. I love to brag, not how good I am, but how good everybody can be if they would slow down. When I do interviews, I just interviewed 40 people in South Carolina. Even if they handed me a resume, I said, is this your phone number or your email? I repeated it back to them. They said, it's on my resume. Yeah, but sometimes there are mistakes. The girls in the back realized my paperwork was perfect. I got away with everything. If I needed to get paid on a deal, Larry will take care of it. Once sales and service trust each other, then the customers can trust both of them. And all of a sudden you get dividends beyond belief. As opposed to, you're not going to believe this, but remember, I'm all over the country and sometimes in Canada. I've actually heard salesmen say, don't go to our service department, they suck. How self-defeating is that?
Right.
Larry, I don't see why the salesman, after they complete a sale and hand the customer the keys, walk the customer over to the service department and introduces them to the key player.
No. My good and great friend, you got the order backwards. You do it before you sell the car. You make it part of a hood and trunk and part of a demo because
That's it.
part of the things
Good
that
point.
are
Good
about
point.
the car is building value.
Yep.
But I'm
That's
not
right.
taking issue with, they should all know. Listen, Joel, I'm the least technical guy on this program. You know how I wound up being number 2 in the country for Cadillac and I'm still pissed off I wasn't number 1? Some guy from Texas that sold more cars. If I was in his store, I would have kicked his ass, don't worry. I used to make all my customer service appointments. I wanted to pick them up, I wanted to drop them off. There was no shot they were going to come in and forget my name. This is almost so simple, it makes your eyes bleed. This isn't tricky.
Right.
You're right.
You sell the car, they service it, they come back to you, you come back to them. This is easy.
Yeah, it's a tag.
That's it.
Should be a tag team match. You're right.
Larry,
That's right.
there's the guy in Texas that had sold you in Cadillacs.
Yeah, so,
Oh,
you know what?
oh.
I wasn't going up against the dealer, I was going up the salesman. You can't say anything about Carl Sewell.
No,
The guy is so smart and such a class act.
exactly.
Yeah, his salesman I might run over accidentally. You know, we Philadelphia drivers get a little nervous.
But in Sewell's business model, the salesman makes the appointments.
That's
The
right.
salesman makes the service appointment. The salesman continuously has the contact. You have a problem, you call the salesperson, the salesman turns around and fixes it for you.
Well, I used to do that when I sold cars. I used to basically say to the person I sold the car to, here's my number. You need anything, you call me. Even after I stopped selling cars, even after I worked on the vendor side, I'd still got people call me. Oh, I need an alarm code for my Honda. Okay, great. Look, here's who you call. It took them years to not do that. Yeah.
Why would you, A, keep in contact with your customer, B, make them a little bit dependent on you, and C, how they can do it with service? I get it.
Yeah.
I don't understand how other people would completely abandon their customer, because one of the ugliest things that happens to salespeople, a guy comes into a dealership and they say, were you here before? Yeah, I bought a car for you guys. Who was your salesperson? I don't know. You know what? He's a nice guy, but you can help me. It looks like you didn't do anything wrong, but you did everything wrong. Because if they don't remember who you are and you're not tied in, you're lost.
We should make $1 million manufacturing a little tag that goes on the keychain when you get your car with the phone number of the service department. Just something dangling, something small that goes right on the keychain.
Well, they have that. It's called a sticker in the window.
Any good dealer makes it clear about what their service department is. We used to give out little handouts. Again, your You're setting up your own future when you keep people within your service department, and when the service department likes the sales department rather than the other way around.
Well, what I used to do is I get a pen made up and it had my number on it, and people would always take the pens anyway. And I used to get them made up. They said, "Oh, can I have the pen?" I said, "Yeah." And the pen would have my number on it. They'd always, when they signed the deal, they'd always take the pen. I'd be like, "Oh yeah, you can have it," and then that would set up that behavior. Go ahead, Jeff.
Groundbreaking new stuff, effective today. 10 years ago, I had a sales guy that would, when he introduced the customer at delivery, he walked into the service department, asked them for their phone, put the service writer's phone number in there under destination service.
Yeah.
Can you imagine, like, groundbreaking today?
Smart.
Well, we used to have in our department, we used to have these paper cutouts. So when the service was closed and you sold the car at night, you'd have a paper cutout of the service writer, and then you had like a card that they could take. So, okay, here's Bob. He's not here right now, but this is what he looks like. Go ahead.
I put the secretary receptionist in services phone number in my phone, but that had nothing to do with service retention. I'll explain that to you after the show.
Larry's wife didn't hear that?
Here's one thing. In the delivery process, what does a customer remember? Do they remember names?
Sometimes.
And they don't really even understand a whole bunch of things. What they do remember is a word called car. You put car service, car sales, car this, and you enter it into their phone on every single delivery. Soon as it comes up, they'll see something that shows up, car. They find it important. They will answer it. They will text back. They will do everything. This is the little keys and the steps of the sale that we're not doing. And the steps of the sale is sale. It's service sale. It's parts sale. It's F&I sale. It's accessory sale. It's car sales. It's pre-owned, new, everything. We're not doing the job right, and it's because we got lazy.
But Peter, I think the other thing is the marketing piece. When you look at marketing on a quarterly, monthly, even annual basis, I mean, I laugh every year because Honda, at least in Canada, they've been running a year-end event for gotta be 35 years called the Checkered Flag event. They haven't come up with a new end-of-year clearance event for almost as long as I've been buying cars. But more importantly, on the sales side, the most proactive dealers are doing like a tire special. They're doing a winter or summer tire thing or service thing. But more importantly, if that well-run service and parts department, which arguably could pay for the cost of the dealership and all its overhead or more if it was done well, that's kind of an afterthought. So who's responsible, do you think, for doing that marketing? Is that the marketing director? Is it the dealer? Is it the service director? I mean, does anyone want to comment on that?
It all starts from the top. All starts from the top. And it's as much the dealer principal's concern as it is the general manager, as it is even the sales manager. If the sales manager is not working with the fixed ops director and not working up proactively, because what's going to happen, you're going to put out a retention sales directive, basically. And that's what marketing is. It's a retention sales directive. You're going to target a amount of clients in your database, and you're going to say, come on in. Of that, the sales manager is going to sit there and hope to get 20% of that back to them, and 80% goes to the fix. The 20% is the retention. We're gonna support this. We're gonna be there. We're gonna do this. We're gonna actually work your event and make sure that it is a success. If everyone's not looking at it on a top-down basis, then they are horrifically mismanaged.
Well, because if you have these private sales events, I mean, why wouldn't a service department have, I don't know, a parts special event or a customer service centric get ready for summer event or something? I mean, I'm looking for examples of maybe dealers that do it better than the average. Maybe someone can talk to that. Go ahead.
How about a garage sale? How about a garage sale of overaged parts? And bringing all your people in and saying, hey, you know what? We're going to push this out on every media out there and say we have overaged parts, rather than going to eBay or any other way of getting rid of your overaged parts, or dropping them into your wholesale cars to build the technicians' hours up. Forget it. Like, there's all kinds of ways.
Well, this is where if you had, you know, at the end of the day, you know, everything we're talking about here is the total blind side to customer lifetime value that dealers have. I mean, you bring out Carl Sewell as an example, and Larry speaks up about his 3x5 note cards. You know, those are the guys that understood what it was about to have a relationship with somebody and to be able to build that relationship over time. And if you do that right, for what you just said, you know, I should be able to have, and I have the ability to do that with technology today, to know that somebody's driving a 2005 F-150, and I only have X, Y, and Z part SKUs left for that particular model. I should be able to reach out to them, and I should be able to just go right to them from a service standpoint and do that. But where I'm going with the lifetime value side of things is the dealer principal is missing the whole opportunity there to be able to combine the two, to understand that the value of a customer is what you guys have been harping on for 17 minutes now. It is almost solely built when they drive off the lot by the service department and by the parts department. You've got to combine the two. You've got to combine the two.
Well, I think Joe had an idea there too, Jeff, after you're done. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I want to take it from there. Here's an interesting story. Of everybody here who has an Apple phone, put your hand up. Okay. Of everybody here, the largest mall near you, what is in the largest mall? An Apple store. Have you ever gone into an Apple store for service?
No.
Yes.
Yes. That is the number one thing. I went from an Apple to a Google. The phones are the same. Don't give me this crap that it operates on a higher algorithms and all this garbage. I went to a Google phone. I love the phone. What I miss is being able to walk in and see a nice person in a nice little color-coded shirt saying, oh, no problem, we'll fix it. Apple has never, ever, to my understanding, marketed the Apple Store.
Nope.
You go buy your phone from T-Mobile, from Rogers in Canada, from whomever, but you go to the Apple Store for service. Why can't we get you to go to the Dodge store, the Mercedes store for that, instead of we wait until the car dies?
That's where Brian's service comes out in play.
Yeah. Brian, you had a comment on that, or Joe, you had a comment? I know Joe had some thoughts there.
Oh, I've always got thoughts, especially when you start talking about Apple Store. You know, it's the most profitable location outside of Tiffany in the world. Yet they don't even focus sales there. Their entire approach is the Apple. It's the Apple approach, probe, provide, listen, and end. And the end is only just to be able to build the Apple brand. They don't care where you buy it. They're there to build the experience, to deliver that moment. And that's really what it's about. And you're 100% right. And I could go on. I've been involved in organizational development and talent development for many years. And I think that's actually where are the core of where we're getting wrong in the automotive service side of things is who we hire. Are we hiring Apple Store employees? Are we hiring the type of people that work at Apple Store? Are we hiring people that would work in Starbucks? Are we hiring people that would work in a Nordstrom and a Ritz-Carlton and places like that understand their first job is service, to provide service and to provide experience? And that ultimately experience is what sells, right? We're not really, I just think we miss a lot. As Peter talks about, I mean, that's what my focus has always been around, is providing, you know, culture and tools and things of that nature. And I think what we do at Repair Pal is starting to kind of address some of that, providing a great experience, providing transparency, and more about transparency. It's actually more about trust. You know, one of the things we know we have to overcome in our space is trust with consumers. Consumers have believed for 40 years that dealers are more expensive than their third-party parts, and it's just not factually true. Not anymore. And that's what Repair Pal does. It's a tool to ultimately help bridge that gap of trust. A third-party provider, third-party tool to be able to get information
to show that a dealer is ultimately trustworthy, delivers a great experience, actually a better experience, but also a trustworthy experience and one that they're not going to be overcharged. So there's so many things to go into. I mean, I appreciate the opportunity to speak and be here and talk to you guys. Like I said, my passion is more around the people side of what we do and providing the right organizational systems and inspiration and empower who we hire, how we empower and inspire once they're in the seat, because they do a great job of that. I don't think we have great systems that create belief in our service advisors that what they are doing is ultimately providing belief that they're providing a great service at a great value, for their customers. I think if they believe that wholeheartedly, they believe what they really believe, a lot of things we're talking about would be a whole lot easier to achieve. But I don't think we do. I don't think we really focus on that belief piece and putting those types of things for our service advisors.
Thanks for that. Joe, any thoughts?
Yeah, in the chat, we're talking about the Apple Store and Steve Jobs and kind of the experience that everybody has there. And, the history of that is Apple used to operate as what they called a store within a store, whether it was like Circuit City or Sears, they had their Apple Store within a store. And what they found there was that people didn't buy into it, and the customers didn't buy into it, the employees didn't buy into it. And they had to take control of that experience. And by putting the product second and the service experience first, what they found was they sold more product. But I think this all comes back to, people get into the car business to sell cars. It's a thrilling experience. I'm not in automotive sales anymore, and I'm on these calls because I want to repeat that rush of selling your car or making that bonus, right? Like, it's super exciting for those people who get off on that. It's a very exciting thing. But you look at that experience of service and that customer relationship, and it comes back to this idea that the people currently running car dealerships, they either came from an automotive family or they came from sales. There are very, very few dealerships that are run by a GM that came from fixed ops and came from service. And I think in those rare cases where you do see that, or you do see that they have that experience, you have a much more cohesive team. And I think I can't remember his name, it's on the tip of my tongue, but there is that customer A to Z program that does something like that. It makes it so that your relationship with the customer is kind of the first thing. And I think that that's a step in the right direction.
Agreed.
The idea of looking at accessories, looking at parts, looking at service as something that a consumer wants to buy, not something they're stuck with, and treating the consumer like they're making a conscious choice to come to you, not that they're coming to you because they feel like they have to, I think is a great place to start.
Well,
I had a Lexus experience. Absolutely. My dad bailed on Mercedes after 20 years, my stepfather, simply because of how well he was treated at Lexus. He'll never buy another Mercedes-Benz again.
Yeah, that A to Z book that you're talking about is probably the Bible. And the line is, do unto others as you would have others do unto you. Every experience that's negative for a customer, we wouldn't want to go through. Is there anybody on this line that wants to be on hold 12 times and get transferred 4 times and get hung up on?
Jeff's I love the government.
If I have to, I'll get my wife to pick up my son. Just please tell me by 12 o'clock if my car's done, and you got a better chance of seeing Jesus than at 12 o'clock your phone rings. All we got to do is remember that these people are feeding our damn families. I say it all the time. We kiss the wrong bus. We kiss our managers, but the most important person in the dealership is the customer, because they're feeding everybody.
Larry, the customer writes the checks. No one else in the dealership writes the checks, because without the customer paying us, there is no revenue and there is no checks. So the customer is always the most important person in that store at all times.
Yeah, I mean, I had an experience. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. There's too many stories of this. We've all been through this. I mean, on this call, I don't know if there's one person that's still in a dealership. Joe, I'm not sure if you are or not. but we see this from the outside. I went through this a year ago in my car, where it was a horrible experience. No point saying it because we've all been through it. Yet the owner of the dealership says the customer is the most important person until the customer calls them and needs to talk to them. So
we're back to church again, coming from the Jewish guy on the call. Okay, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak. Saying something and doing something are two different things. My boy Keith Richards had the perfect title for his solo album. Talk is cheap. Don't give me a bunch of bullshit. Okay, do what you're supposed to do. Tim, this scarred me for life and made me a better human being and a much better businessman. Anybody that's been around me, Mr. Polo particularly, will tell you I'm a degenerate phone answerer. I'm on an airplane, I'm hanging out a window, and I actually hired a woman to answer the phone if I couldn't. Why am I this way? I'm a little anal, but also I saw my GM, I was just a salesman, walk out, and the operator said, boss, you have a call. And this moron said, tell him I left. And I always thought, what if it was somebody who wants to buy 3 cars? What if it was somebody with a small problem and you could have looked like a hero? So what the disconnect between what they say and what they do is evident, okay? Somebody said, are we hiring the right kind of people? I'm a recruiter. I hire people all the time who say, Larry, I'm not being vain. I love you. I love your class. You changed my life. 3 weeks later, they quit. Why? Because the manager wasn't paying attention, or he was a jerk, or nobody was tied in. This stuff flows from the top. If they see the boss cares, they care. The boss, again, just the car thing, anybody else that's not in the car business won't understand this. I got sent to all the training. I went to Cardone, I went to Joe Verdi, and I'll never forget coming back and explaining what I learned, and my GM went, we're not doing that crap. We're going back to what we always do. Why don't you go knock on the owner's door and tell them the check you just cut, you made a paper airplane out of it. But the good news is, this isn't singular to the car business. This is the damn world we live in. You tell me anybody that's we're in twin countries that are beautiful, great, free countries led by imbeciles. Okay? Did Trudeau or Biden? The only one that's way better looking than yours.
Go ahead.
What was that, Mr. Polo?
I said ours is way better looking than yours.
Ours passed away 6 months ago. The people running the show just don't want to let anybody know. Although he did keep his promise. He said he'd open the border and get rid of fossil fuels. God bless him. I pray every night that he's alive, because if Kamala becomes president and he dies, I'm moving to Canada. I hope it's warmer next winter.
Jeff.
Other than I have those political opinions.
Yeah.
Jeff, next question.
Well, finally, we can go back to our script. This is really so much fun. We're going to do a little bit of a quiz here. Pop quiz time. I haven't done one for a while. So give me your opinion, these choices. I'm just going to go right down the line of everybody whose face is there. And if you don't know what it is, it's okay, because most of us don't anyways. So what's your opinion on these choices? Diagnostic machines in the drive-thru. Are they good tools, or they just make advisors less driven to drive revenue? Why? Brian?
I think it depends on the tool. If you look at some of the Hunter equipment, it's a diagnostic equipment that ultimately is automated when they drive through, and it basically gives them a full print of each of these forms to say, hey, here's what the machine said, and here's what it's going to cost you. You know, I think any types of tool, I think you always have to be careful not to overload advisors, but I think tools like that are automated and easy, and that shows a diagnostic of something that's very easy for them to fix, and why it's important. I think that's a very important tool.
By the way, the woodpecker behind you, you've done my heart good, man. I haven't seen that in years. Thank you so much. Joe, what do you think for us?
No, I knew. I was gathering my thoughts.
By the way, great haircut, man.
Thank you, bro. It's a slow process. When I was in the service drive, we used to always tell people, because they would start coming in right as the smartphone started coming out. You could get the OBD2 and it would read the code. And the guy would come in and say, well, I don't want to pay the diagnostic because I already know what's wrong with it. It needs an O2 sensor, whatever it was. And the response would always be, listen, the code just tells you that the part is bad. It doesn't tell you what caused the part to go bad. Maybe the part is good and the wire is loose and it can't see it anymore. Maybe the part is bad because the catalytic converter is clogged and you're going to put in an O2 sensor and it's going to just happen again. Maybe there's physical damage. You hit a rock, a pothole, and this is the electronic manifestation of that. No matter what the code says or what part goes bad, you still need that experienced technician, somebody who understands the entire system, to take a look at the vehicle and figure out what caused the part to go bad and fix the disease, not just the symptom, right? And the code tells you the symptom. And I think if you train your service advisors that way, it's a tremendous opportunity to take a customer who came in thinking they knew exactly what was going on into someone who's going to now look at you as a trusted authority and follow your advice. You're in there as a service advisor. You're not an order taker. You're not there just to call them up and tell them, yeah, your brake pads are at 4/10 and your tires are at 3/30 seconds. It's time for new tires and brakes. They're just going to go, yeah, okay, thanks, buddy. I'll talk to you later. You have to take on that role and own that role as the advisor. And part of that means being confident and comfortable telling people no or kind of pushing back when they push you. So in that sense, I think having the code is a very positive thing, having those code readers, because it creates that opportunity to offer advice and not just become a parts changer.
Hey, I'm looking at Brian. Brian, you look like a really good people person. Everybody says they are, but you look like you are. How about if we mixed it up? Don't make a face, Joe, okay? All right? I'm trying to talk to Canadians. How about if we mixed up the technical with the human? How about if you pulled a quarter out of your pocket and stuck it into the tread of the tire and says, look a little low, John. Aren't you going to travel in this car with your family? You may want to think about getting new tires.
Yeah, great. How many service advisors are still walking around the car with the customer instead of just trusting the cameras to do it or walking around it?
No. You don't understand. In America, they're allergic to walk-arounds. Then they go back to, I don't want to do that. I might find something needs fixing and make more money and be in a higher tax bracket. They're allergic.
You know what's funny? Joe and I used to see them going back and forth about Harley because we both spent time in the RV world. And without saying what a great guy I am, but I am pretty awesome. When I took over a Harley store, the first thing I did was tell advisors, you got to do a walk around. Now they go, no, these guys know what they want. I'd say walk around it. If you see a scratch, touch it with your finger. The old walk around appraisal from the used car guy. Because there's nothing worse than a guy with tattoos and skull rings all over him, right up to here, with the teardrop, which apparently means something really bad around his eye, who's sitting there going, you scratched my bike. And you might as well, they'll cry. Forget shoot you. Cry. And most bikes are scratched because most people cannot hold up a 900-pound bike. So my next quiz question was going to be walk around by advisors takes too much time, or duh, why wouldn't you? Larry, why wouldn't you? That's a dumb one.
It's ridiculous. You want to do a walk around every time. And by the way, Ian, the next time Jeff tells that story, make sure you put Born to Be Wild by Steppenwolf on the
Well, it was funny you bring that up, Jeff, because I was working at a dealership in Chicago. We were training dealer effects on a service drive. And the service writers didn't like walking around the car, but they had a tablet, they had to do that. And he goes to me, well, there's a bullet hole in this car. Should I mark that down? I said, what are you shooting them out back? Like, what's the deal, man? Like, what? Like, of course you note that. What do you mean? It's kind of funny.
Well, you remember last week's show we talked about, the first person to mention tires. All it takes is you walk up to the car, you touch the tire, and go, "Would you like a quote on tires?"
Yep.
Oh, sure. And who mentioned earlier, Peter? What was that, or Larry? That's where we're losing all of our business is tires at Chicago.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter if you make a lot of money on tires because you retain the customer. Where are they going to go to get the tire swap? Where are they going to go to get them rotated? Where are they going to go to get another set? They're going to go to the dealer sold it to them. And it's crazy.
You remove the wheel. This is where you discover
brakes.
Sorry,
This,
Joe.
this is,
No, I was gonna say, this is where, you know, a lot of dealers are looking at electric cars and electrification as a bad thing that's coming. They think they're gonna lose that oil change business. But this is where, you know, this is a great opportunity to bring up the fact that, like, if you're selling someone an electric car, it's so easy to look them in the eye and go, buddy, you really think you're gonna take this thing to Jiffy Lube and they're gonna know what to do with it? You think you're gonna take this thing to Walmart and they're gonna know how to calibrate the tires? Come on, this thing has 64 processors. It's operating, it does, you know, 400 million calculations a second. There is no way that a dealer is going to lose that business to a third party if they present it properly. And every one of the dealers that I've talked to in the last, I don't know, 3-4 years that I've been doing the EV and e-mobility thing has it completely backwards. They see that they're losing oil changes and they think they're gonna lose service business. Nothing could be further from the truth. Nobody's gonna touch these things once they get out.
Well, not only that, what do EVs go through more than a gas car? They go through brakes and they go through tires because they're heavier. So if that isn't a news flash, learn how to sell brakes and tires. I don't know what is. Like, why are you not doing that on every car right now? Because those people bought a 4,000-pound Tesla, for example, are going to need tires. Like, there's no question.
Yeah, and I want to announce officially that I am selling Career Changers USA, the world's greatest recruiting and training company. Joe Boris and I are going in. We're starting an Uber company in California because we figure when the grid goes down and none of these cars can get charged up, they'll need a ride to gas-powered Uber. You still have that Chevy Impala in the driveway?
No.
I just want to jump in and just talk about two things. The diagnostic thing, I believe 100% in everything that Joe is saying, because you go to the dentist, you got a sore tooth, you've already diagnosed that you got toothache. Now you don't know which one it is. You got 32 in your mouth. Which one is it? Is it the back molar, or is the one beside it, or the one beside it? We don't know where the phantom pain's coming from. So yeah, we have to get the dealers on the diagnostics train. The walk around is
for that.
Yeah, but sadly, your analogy was apt because people equate going to the service department to going to the dentist's office.
Of course, that's why I used it. That's why
I'm not being a smart out. We got to make it some kind of a positive experience.
Exactly.
That's just it.
Now the walk around is so imperative, because I can tell you, regardless of how good you are, you're probably spending thousands in policy for people saying there's a scratch there. It wasn't there. My wheel is scuffed. Look at the bulge in my tire. It was never there when it came in. If you're not doing the proper walk around, you're costing yourself money. And the only way to do a proper walk around is with pictures. And that's why UBI is a phenomenal product. Phenomenal. Developed by the Israeli military, great product. From what
That's the Uzi that's built by the Israeli military.
came from it.
Yeah, I got one of those in the Impala.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
go
You'll need it in Chicago.
You need Chicago, you need that, yeah.
Here's the way the cell works to millennials. You have them do a selfie with you in front of each Nick and Ding on the car. It'll be wonderful. They'll spread
They'll be on Insta.
Look at this dent.
But
I feel so offended, but see.
You're including me in the damage on my car. How nice.
Peter, I'll build on what you were saying about the walk around and go back to Larry as well around the human component, right? And believe me, I believe in the human component 100%. I believe technology is only an enabler. Technology doesn't sell anything. All it is an enablement tool. But in that walk around, we talk about the human. That's where we can build rapport, right? Where you're looking at things like, what's the vanity plate they have on the car? What's the sticker? Where'd they go to college? What's in the driver's seat? You're looking for things, which is what like Ritz Carlton does. Like they actually go through people's garbage to see if they eat M&Ms. The next thing they check in, there's an M&M bag on their pillow. Like that's what people do. That's how you build rapport. That's how you build opportunities to get to know somebody, get to know them personally. You make a comment about the 6 stickers that are on the back of their car with all their kids and their dogs and their cats, or where they went to college, or anything that you could see about the vehicle. You're building opportunities to build rapport and familiarity with that customer. And if you don't do that often, you're missing that opportunity to do that.
Well, I remember years ago, we went to a Ruth Chris, me and my wife, and it happened to be our anniversary, but it was kind of a random thing. The team at the restaurant, when we checked in, we didn't have a reservation. Is there anything special? Yeah, it's our anniversary. They did a 360 and made it special instantaneously almost. So that to me was basically saying, hey, if you don't ask the question, but more importantly, when's the last time a salesperson who sold a car did that? And I'll use an example. So what I used to do when I delivered a car is I'd go down to the parts department. I knew them very well. I'd say, listen, what would you like from the parts department? Obviously, there's a finite budget because I'm paying for it, but it's on me. And I'd introduce them to the parts manager. They'd be able to choose something. And at the end of the day, I also was able to introduce them to the rest of the team. And not only did the parts manager appreciate it, the customer did, but more importantly, they had an experience that was positive in association with their car delivery. So that kind of stuff is not complicated, and it's not even expensive, but it matters. Anyway, Jeff, we're cut out of time today, so maybe final comment round. So go ahead.
Well, guys, for what started to be a show where we were going, the people we planned weren't here, this was amazing. I've actually been entertained watching Tim chuckling half the show. And, I wanted to thank everybody. You know something? Thank you so much for supporting us, because you know something, Peter, Larry, of course, Tim and Guy, Joe, you're there all the time. Brian, it's so great to have you here. And Joel, wherever you are, because you don't show up in front of me, thank you for being here. It's been fun. I had more fun on this show than I can believe. And when you get Ian and I have not talked very much.
So you're wild guys. Wild guys have fun.
And I forgot Dawn. Hi, Dawn.
Dawn.
Thank you very much. I have to hop into a car and drive for an hour out to the sticks. So I wish you good health and a great weekend, and we'll see you all in Las Vegas.
Any final thoughts from anybody? Any parting thoughts?
Just it's always a pleasure being on the show, sharing opinions and collaborating with other industry experts, as we always do every week. And I find it a true privilege, and I would like to express my gratitude for myself and all the others on the show.
Same to us. Anyone else?
And I'll leave it with this. Let's
Well
make
done,
sure
well
we
done.
continue to teach people to have an attitude of gratitude. If they're glad to see their customers, and they're glad to have a job, and they're glad they're breathing, everything will work better, including service.
Exactly.
All right.
Saddle up.
Peace out. Have a great week. Thanks for coming.
Happy trails to you until we meet again.
Oh la la. What?
Thanks for joining us. It was a great show, and follow us anywhere you would like on your favorite podcast, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and of course on our YouTube, or subscribe to our own channel.